thank you, dear God, for bringing us as men as we plan for our future. We pray for your guidance. May you be with us. You be with the facilitators that are going to lead this program. When all has been said and done, we want to give glory and honor to you, for we have prayed in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you so much. At this point in time, I shall leave the platform to Dr. Mshoshi. He's going to lead us in our short devotion. Thank you.
I have been deprived of the pulpit for a long, long time. This is the hour, the opportunity. Well, can we just take 2 minutes to look at a thought from the scriptures? I was just asked as I stepped in, they said, can you share a thought? It's good that you didn't tell me earlier on. I would have taken a good 1 hour to compensate. So I'll just share a very well-known passage in the book of Luke chapter 18, where Jesus told this story, this parable of talents. It's not really a parable about gifts, because talent was money, and money which was then called talent. Okay, so like dollars, or like what? Which are the other currencies? Pounds, another current, bond. Okay, so this was a currency. So this was a currency. So Jesus talks about a man who had his servants, and as he was about to leave, he calls his servants together, and he endows each one of them with some significant amount of money. And he says, I'm going away, but I'm going to come back. And we know who this master is. Who is the master who is saying, I'm going away and I'm going to come back? That's Christ himself. He's going to go away. But as he leaves and he's going to come back, he leaves us with something that we need for our subsistence. And so he gives each one of them some significant amount which he wants them to invest. And this is what he says in verse 13, do business till I come. Okay? The other versions say, occupy until I come. Get engaged in business. Get involved in some very serious investment. God does not want us to be idle. God does not want us to have the mentality that, well, because the Lord is coming, I do not need to make any investment. Our master says, occupy until I come. Do business until I come. And so each one of us, God expects us to play our part in making investments that is significant for our future, in making investment that is significant for the welfare of the church. Because if we don't occupy ourselves meaningfully, the church will only be as strong as its members are. And so God wants us to occupy until he comes. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Dear God, thank you so much for this privilege that we have. And we want to thank you that you have not left us with nothing in our hands, but you have put some significant investment into our hands. Help us to do business wisely. Help us to be occupied meaningfully until you come. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
What does the church say? Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much for that presentation. We'll quickly go into our introductions. We need to know each other here. You never know. You can find your next business partner in this room, okay? Or your running mate, or your gym mate. Because, okay, I'll start off with the introductions. We want to know your full name as per ID, and we would like to know your occupation and your interests. Okay, so I'll start. My name is Stanford William. Stanford William. The William part, a lot of people will ask. I'm originally from Malawi, but born and bred here in Zimbabwe. So that's where the English surname comes from. I'm a graphic designer by profession. I run a print and branding company, Corporate Gifts. That's what I do for a living. I enjoy traveling, running, marathons, etc. Together with Mkoma Jerry. Also, yeah, and I would also love adventure. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm married. I've been married for like 10 months now. So I'm new in this game. Thank you so much. I'll leave this to our elder.
Hello, I am Tawanda Marongwe, husband of one, father of 5. I run a bit also like you, but only to try and shake off fat. I'm into environmental consultancy, but where there is money, please just let me know. I have no andinama boundary. Yeah, kune mari, please. If you want me to be an accountant, I can be an accountant. A miner, I can be anything. Please just understand that. So don't box me. Yeah, and if you have an idea, sorry. What do you expect out of our interactions as AMO? I think I will unpack it a bit more when we do the planning in the session for AMO. But it's a pleasure to be here, and may God bless you. Thank you. I want to also welcome my brother there, Mkomongu. And sorry, crowd puller.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Caleb Garura. I'm married to Mildred, and yeah, my profession, I'm in HR and a bit of consulting also, by the way. Yeah, what do I love doing? I think I love socializing and yeah, and even this idea of talking to people.
Yeah, let me do a little more introduction of this fellow. This fellow was my high school student in Form 3 and Form 4. And he is a miracle to me because he's not what he was. and the biggest miracle for me was to find him in the faith, because this is amazing. It's amazing to me, and I really appreciate it. Uh, Now, a bit of introduction about myself, who I am. Well, I served as a pastor for some 30-something years, but I have now retired, and I won't talk much about that. What am I occupied with since my retirement? I think I'll just mention one area which I can just share with you. I have been doing a lot of writing, and that's my major preoccupation at the present moment. One of my books was published in England by Stanbro Press, and it went around the world, and they did 10,000 copies, and it just sold everywhere. One time when I was visiting in the US, I bumped into my book in the non-Adventist bookshop, and I bought a few copies there. And right now it's sold everywhere by literature evangelists, but except in Zimbabwe. My book has not circulated in Zimbabwe. I have one that's very close to published. I've just finished my manuscript, and it will be ready in a few months. I normally don't talk about my writing, but I feel constrained to talk about it now because I'm going to be marketing it, and this is part of what I need to be saying in order to market the book. And next to me is someone who I'll be happy to have in the audience.
Good afternoon. My name is Virgil Mushoshwi. I'm married with one child, and my line of work is technology. I run a technology company that's in Kenya and here in Zimbabwe, and I'm happy to be joining the AMO group.
I'm Jerry Mutema, married with one child, a boy. I do advertising, printing, and trading, online trading. I love traveling, and I also love ultra marathons. So ultra, it's from 42 plus kilometers. I love those. I'm looking forward to be running this year 90 Ks in South Africa, Durban, to Pietermaritzburg. Yeah.
I think I sat at the wrong place. All right, thanks. My name is Bison Sabora. I'm working as capacity building officer for the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization. Thank you.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'll just pass it on. My name is Piety Wata. Married, father of two. I'm into what we call mechanical power transmission components. If you want to know more, we can chat.
My name is Tafazo Migadzino. I'm a farmer, also a miner, and yeah, we run a factory in Masasa which does PPE. So for those who want safety clothing, we actually manufacture. I'm a father of three, yeah, and a child of Mount Pleasant Church. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Reggie Chikowo. I'm primarily a teacher at the university. Professors are teachers. So yeah, that's where I work. That's where I do community service, so to speak. But most of my time I do international work with, in agriculture for research. And one weird thing about me is I normally don't know where I will be next the following week. I'm always traveling, so it's very difficult life.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is McDave Timbere. I'm a visitor. I was invited by my Sekuru, Caleb Garura, to be here. I do detergent manufacturing, and also I'm into company registrations, annual returns. For your references, you can get in touch with Grant Thornton. I do a lot of work for them. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mashupiko Fungai. Married with one child, and I'm a financial advisor, majoring into retirement planning as well as estate planning.
Thank you. My name is Nobile. I am a marketing and PR consultant. I live here in Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Duncan Mpupuni. I'm a farmer specializing in livestock, field crops, horticulture. If you want small livestock like chickens, you contact me. Thank you. Married, but with 4 children, almost an empty nest.
Why are you saying but?
I've forgotten to say it.
Okay. I'm Snokutemba Klava, working as a public health specialist at Ministry of Health, mainly leading HIV prevention services for Ministry of Health. I also do part-time consultants in public health, both for local, but sometimes also within the region. I also do part-time farming, mainly livestock, mainly cattle and goats, and a bit of maize. I've just found a small piece of land idle somewhere here, so I'm just doing some bit of maize.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Onesimo Sivanda. Into donor compliance. I focus on acquisition and assistance, that's contracts and grants. Married to 1 wife, 2 kids so far, and hopefully 1 addition coming soon.
Afternoon. My name is Kauson Mpupuni. I'm into vegetarian production. We do vegan sausages, bowls, burgers, and I'm also venturing into transport industry. That's my new venture. I'm married to 1 wife, and I have 1 child.
Good afternoon. My name is Tando Nkomo. My line of work is research and knowledge development. I work with the regional office for Netherlands Development Organization. I'm an emerging farmer. The piece of land I have is just distant from Clava's place. So looking forward to learning from this platform as well. So mainly into livestock and nothing big, but emerging, as I say. Thank you.
Okay, Laxon Tashono is my name. I work in investments, married with 3 kids. And that's all. Thank you.
I'm Tatenda Garu. I'm still a youth. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm David Murawa. I'm married with 2 kids. I am in government, foreign relations. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ishmael Mutana. I am married with 3 children and 1 wife. Currently, I am working at the University of Zimbabwe as a caretaker gardener. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm not good in English, but I'm going to try. My name is Matthew Chinambazina from Chimanimani. Before I knew God, I once married to 5 women, but right now I've got the 6th one, and I'm quite sure that's the last one. So total of my children are 7 children. I like traveling, and at present I'm working at UZ as under contract. And what I like most is to be an entrepreneur. So I'm still looking which type of work I'm gonna be. Amen.
Good afternoon, brothers. My name is Ben Eda. I was forced into farming. So I could have said, actually, I'm Sekuru Deda. So my dad used to tell me that I should have cows. And we would have this debate that, look, Mombes in the village don't have insurance. I won't go into Mombes. So one day, anyway, our first daughter then got married. And you know, you charge 6 Mombes, 10 Mombes. So he said he wanted 8. or $200 a beast. Then there were Kwashas that said, look, we've got the 8 Mombes, come and collect your, come and collect your Mombes. So I was now burdened with 8 Mombes. Anyway, to cut the story short, we were then forced to look for somewhere to keep the Mombes. And we took those Mombes. Today now we grow Mombes, we grow chicken, grow goats, we grow sheep, and other things. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Takudzwa Tambanewenyu. I'm an accountant at Development Trust of Zimbabwe. And I'm interested in farming, particularly horticulture. And hobbies, I think I'm a good tennis player. If anyone would want a challenge, feel free. Thank you.
My name is Shepard Fungura. I work in financial services. We do banking, insurance, and investments. And then on my other life, I also do real estate. I have a portfolio that I run, which is spread across region. And then thirdly, I also am interested in farming, but I think farming will come when I reach 55 years. At the moment, no, it's a real no.
Okay, to the 2 gentlemen over here, we're introducing ourselves.
Afternoon, gentlemen. I'm Takanai Murray. I don't know what I'm doing now, but I own a farm, a big one, yeah, about 1,000 hectares. It's titled land, by the way, and but I'm not a farmer. I was not born one. I'm learning farming, and prior to that, I've been doing coach building. I'm not an engineer, but I'm an entrepreneur. I was an entrepreneur, if you want to say. I'm living off retired funds. I'm not working right now. Never mind, I'm not derelict. I'd like to think that now I'm living off my mind. I'm married I got 3 children and a very beautiful wife. And, I've got a challenge with one of my children, but I love it because I also have been very naughty. I belong to Mount Pleasant Church, but I don't fellowship here. I'm always in Mbare, Budiriro, and elsewhere, attending church. I know it's, and I'm thankful to Maronge because he always invites me. I'm a product of Mount Pleasant Church in terms of mentorship and nurturing, and I think they are represented here by Pastor and Dara Deda. I think they've looked after me and my family in the spiritual way, and there are many other elders like Manungo, Mangwengwe, and Tini. They've always culturally tried to rein me in. I'm rebellious to convention, but thankfully people have been around to keep me in the flock. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I think the last 5 people spoke about farming. Now I'm tempted to speak about farming. I'm not a farmer, I don't own a farm. Okay, I'm Fortune Mashwanganyika. To some extent, also a product of Mount Pleasant Church. I think this church groomed us when we were still students. So yeah, to some extent, I learned a lot from the men from this church. I am married and I have 1 child. I'm an IT person currently working for First Capital Bank. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen. We shall hand over to Elder Marongo.
Thank you, gentlemen. So, this is our first meeting together as men. This segment of my presentation was to give us an overview. And I think let me do that now, because that way we don't disturb the flow of conversation that is going to emanate from the presentation ichange ichitwa na Vagarura. So we have your AMO committee that is in place. The AMO committee is headed by myself. And then we've got Mr. Stan Williams. He's in charge of Stand. He's in charge of programming events. So that's why you see he's the one who's managing this one. Then we've got Virgil Mshoshi. Virgil Mshoshi is Zacchaeus, so we call him Zach. So when you see Virgil, you see Zach. He is responsible for the collections they do and doing our books. He also is an IT person, so you notice that he sent a registration link. You saw that one? How many of us saw that? Okay. How many of us are having problems like Mangwengwende to deal with it? How many of us are having problems with it? Huh? The form is online. So on AMO, if you look at on AMO Fellowship, he shared it on AMO Fellowship. You're not on AMO Fellowship. No, be like, of all people, you're not on AMO Fellowship. How come? Saka orupa ina emning nongo. Orupa great minds. Aye. All right. Okay. I post it on Great Minds also. All right. Okay. But there is a link there that he sent, so we need to just make sure we update the records. And then we've got Ndanga Mtizwa. He's the deputy for our AMO grouping. So what are the main focuses that we're proposing to deal with? Okay. So we want to deal with issues that affect men. Okay. These are some of the examples that we want to be dealing with during the year. Our health, okay, men's health, both physical and mental. We believe that besides the physical issues, we are okay on issues of physical. We see we are running, we are doing all sorts of things. But I think our mental health needs a lot of attention. I think kupenga chako chako kwakatowanda pakati penyu. So we're looking at that. But also even from a perspective of mental support, you know, we go through a lot of challenges and would like to help each other. And so in line with that, we've already lined up a speaker or someone who's going to help us with men's health. When we go for our outing in Vumba, we are bringing Dr. Ozea Maponder. So he's going to be with us that weekend. So I hear a lot of men saying, hey, he's going to be speaking to all that because he runs a men's clinic on Samora Machel there. So we're going to be dealing with health, physical and mental. Then we're going to deal with finance and business. Okay, finance and business. One of the things that we are talking about here is retirement planning, and that's all finance. We'll also be talking about relationships, families, okay, effective support for the boy child. We believe this year we want to take along the boy child. We want to take along the boy child. Create some support structure and instructive structure for the boy child. Because, you know, personally I feel that the boy child is neglected. It's like he doesn't have a right to be around. It's always the girl child where programs are designed to cater for. So we want to deal with supporting the boy child, and that is going to be through some of the programs we are going to be doing for the young men from UZ and our young people. That's why we've got a tender here. Okay. Then mission, from a community service perspective, find ways to inspire the whole church into mission, fellowship and social interactions, what we are doing right now. We want to say at least once a month on a Sunday, let's meet. Let's meet. If it's not for a short while, but we should meet even online. Zoom sessions, we should be as innovative as you can. But let's have a program once every month as AMO. That way we can be vibrant and we can be also contributing to the programs of the church. Then we also want to resume our monthly subscriptions. $5. Why? We just need a fund because we're a community service association. So we need a fund to be able to respond to issues. And while I'm on that, our young men, Tariro, you remember Tariro, the young men who sorry, it's Tabonga, not Tariro. Right, so that's Tabonga, and you've all seen Tabonga here, didn't you? Okay, now his mom is not well. She's had to have an operation, and there are bills which are piling up. Okay, so there's a shortfall of about $400. If I did my maths correctly, it's about $400. That is a shortfall. So we need to be able to respond to issues like that. And no, instead of having to say, can we have $5? If we have a fund, we could just say, part of our money, let's allocate it to what? To that. But for now, since you guys don't have a fund, we are going to go into your pockets today. After we finish the retirement planning talk, we will need to find a way of raising some money to support that young man. And yes, he is our brother, and he has a need that needs to be addressed too. All right, so we also are going to be looking at how the church or how AMO can be leaders in this church in the perspective of the programs that are there. Right now, we are in here, okay? We have an emergency situation that is befalling us. There is the shed for the kids that needs to be built there. Okay, gentlemen, there is a shed for the what? For the kids that needs to be built. We as AMO need to take a leading role. As Vanarume, do you remember Mkoma what we did a few years back? We sat down as AMO and we said, we have a problem with this, the issue of the cottage. All right. And I remember him standing up and saying, gentlemen, where are the plans? And then we got the plans done. What is the BOQ? Okay, so who does what? And we split ourselves around, and within a few months, that cottage which you see here was built in a matter of months, all with the initiative, not from the building committee, but from AMO. That is men showing leadership. Right now we are sitting here and they have no shade, and we are having problems with kids. And we've got men who If we look at Zamaka Paka Panzapa, and the state in which your children are in, now, I have a child guy in who's also 2 years, so it's an issue. That I remember, but I'm not so I'm not but you see what our issue is, guys? We as men need to step up and support. We can't leave all this to the building committee. No. As men, we say, let's do this, and we do it. So that is key, gentlemen. We need to be as men. Because we hear this story. Now the narrative this year is Vanababa, and we move forward. Are we good with that, gentlemen? Okay. So that's what we want to be trying to do this year. Okay. A couple of activities. This on the 17th of March, we have booked and we've secured Summer Place Lodge in Vumba. How many of us remember having gone there? Remember a couple of years back we went and did? Yeah, we went there. So we want to go there again. And there is the Nyaradzo lodges which are nearby. So those are where we are going to be occupying that place. We have booked for 40 people. So let's make sure we start registering. Virgil is going to send a registration form online, and then we start paying towards that. So in a nutshell, these are the things that we want to be doing, gentlemen. And that registration form that Virgil has given is also an opportunity for us to say, we would like to do this, would like to do this. We get your input, and then we consolidate a program going forward. Now, it gives me such great pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, who is none other than my brother and father, Vagarura. Vagarura is going to be speaking to us on retirement planning. I love you, my father. I love you so much. But I must confess, these past 48 hours have been very difficult for me. You know, the things that I've been hearing about you. Yeah, I must confess, I've been very... You heard what the pastor said. You heard it. You also heard what Farai said yesterday. Anditika. But you are a branch plucked out of the fire, so I am happy. Over to you, Baba.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you very much for, I think the turnout is very good. And I think it's also encouraging. I just pray that as we have more programs, that the turnout continues to be this way. And thank you, head for AMO, heads of households. Heads of families. Yeah. Okay. Heads of households. Okay. Heads. Okay. The biggest challenge that I'm having now is that I have so much to share and so much little time to do so. So I think what I will try and do is that you bear with me. I will run on the sections and then allow people to obviously comment and give their thoughts and insights. Ordinarily, this is a subject in which we should actually divide ourselves, because when I look at the challenges that Marco, just stand up, is facing as a young man with respect to retirement planning, these are different from my brother who is just recently married, and different, Ngobile, stand up, from Ngobile who now has kids, and different from Wadeda, my brother, sorry to like this, who is now possibly in the twilight of his career. So by that virtue of the segmentation, you will find that there is no one side fits it all. And naturally, even as we discuss and talk about these things, you realize that certain things that we're discussing or talking about may not be relevant to you, but certain things may actually be relevant to you. So why have I decided to call it making it on your own? Ordinarily, a lot of us, except for a few, are actually tied up to an organization in which they are working. And therefore, you are the burden of that particular employer until the day you are actually told that, my friend, I think we attend at our own. So in a sense, you are now making it on your own. You are no longer relying on any other person to look after you. You have to make ends meet. And that's precisely the reason why I have called it making it on your own. So basically, the question is, when does the future start? And it's unfortunate that we actually don't have youths here. As many as, or probably maybe as many as we would have loved. The future actually starts now. And let me share with you a personal experience. I was approached by the chaplain general some 4 years ago. And he says, look, Garura, I've heard that you do a lot of training. We have a situation and a case at Tana. We have some of our senior officers who move from one ZRP house to the other. They are promoted into various ranks until the day they are told to that you are now retired. The things are pegged in his lorry, and then ask him, Chief say, where do we go with your goods? And then he begins to say, look, I have a brother, you can leave some in Glenview, or you can leave the other things in Mbare, you can leave the other things in Lochinvar. So these cases are actually what are on the rise. So we ran a program with ZRP for almost about, I think, 2-3 weeks across the country. And some of the insights I'm going to be sharing with you are live insights, real cases. So the future starts now. So what gives me the mandate or the passion to speak about retirement? I have been in the HR profession for over 35 years. I've had to, obviously, like many others seated around this table, you have your insurance and life covers. They're all decimated in 2009. I had the opportunity of looking after my father right up to his death. And I'm currently looking at my mother with the aid of other siblings. And obviously, we witness a very consumptive attitude among Zimbabweans. Let me try and qualify that. Why do I say consumptive? A lot of the employees, he gets a pocket of my potatoes. He gets a pocket of my pumpkins, what do you call it, my butternuts, a tray of eggs, and then some 4 or 5 chickens. By the time the salary comes, that individual employee just becomes the distribution center of distributing money to the people that he actually borrowed. And the next week, he's back onto the what? The same old trend of getting things before you pay them. And I speak, this is just across all sectors in the industry. It's not peculiar. So that's a consumptive attitude that we actually have as Zimbabweans. And for me, that's a bit worry. And then obviously, when retirement becomes, people resort to certainly desperate things. And I can do a day's workshop on that. And then obviously, I've witnessed people who live a life that is pathetic, or they become a shadow of themselves. And then suddenly he's a shadow of himself. And for me, that has really kind of given me the passion to talk about that. Look, I think this is something that we have as a nation and as a people. So, what is it in it for me? And probably, why have you attended today? And the question number one is that we will all retire one day, gentlemen. Even when the soul wants, the physicality of it will tell you, my brother, Zakwan. So this is actually real. And then also we need to have a long-term life view of who we are in terms of ourselves. And then obviously, because that's where we'll spend more time. And then obviously, you don't want to be a burden to other people, you want to, to better or at least maintain the lifestyle you have lived. And then obviously you want to work out of choice, not out of necessity. There are people that are retiring from one job and the next minute they are on another because they just cannot be able to make ends meet. And obviously, you don't want to stretch yourself, and then obviously you want to plan it projects you as a person who is orderly if you have your you're planning going that route. Okay. So the home truths is that you eat more when you are not going to work than when you are going to work. Hello? Yeah, because basically you're doing nothing. You're sitting in the lounge, watching movies. The next thing you go into the fridge, you pick up a snack, you eat, and the next thing you what? So naturally, you eat more. And we need more medical care as we age. It's a fact of life. And I think as Marongwe talks about it, I think our incomes drops, but not our spending habits. And then we live in a world that is very corrupt. I think this is, again, home truth. And then we fight to keep our reputation with the peers and relatives. So this is the space in which we are all are. But I think I want to go biblical. If you read Numbers chapter 8, verse 22 to 25, it was very clear, Mfundis, to the priests, that the people that will work in the temple were supposed to be 25. But it says there, if I may read, men 25 years old or more shall come in and be part of the work of the tent of the meeting. But at the age of who? Talk to me. At the age of what must happen? So retirement is not something that we have phantom. Even those that worked within the confines of the church, they worked in the temple, they were actually supposed to what? To retire from the regular service. And I think I also want to borrow Luke chapter 8, verse 14, verse 28 says, for which of you desiring to build a tower does not sit down and count the cost of whether he has enough to complete it, isn't it? So the element of planning there is clearly something that we must always be mindful of. And even Genesis chapter 8:22 says, seed time and what? And harvest. All right? And for whatsoever we sow, we shall also what? Reap. Okay. So let's begin with the end in mind. Basically, that circle speaks to the fact that when you do your financial planning, you have actually to make an assessment of where you are, what you need to do, and what projects you will do, and eventually review your situation and circumstances right up until you get to what you want to be. And by the way, I think I'll give these slides for distribution so that we get to know. All right. So like I was saying to you, we basically, Mama Shupiko will tell you, there are categories even of financial planning from even the age perspective, because the challenge is that an 18 to 25-year-old face and they would want to accomplish are different, because you are single, you virtually don't have many obligations, if any, and therefore you probably want to advise on how to get what started, which retirement fund you would want to, and which lifestyle. Then when life moves you, you move off, you get married. Again, the issues that you then start to attend to are different. You are now looking at your new combined income as a couple and investing with moderate high risk, because really you are starting life young, your life. And then we have kids. Again, things change. You want to make sure that even the element of putting up your education funds for your kids, and even to putting up cover should you get involved in an accident and there's disability. So you again need to work. And then obviously, 40 to 50, you now want to becoming a what? An independent family. Look at, it's over that. You are putting more money into what? Into retirement, because you're now conscious of the fact that you will not be in employment. Ensure that you have savings aside, and obviously, and the like. And then obviously you go through the 55 and beyond. That's when you relocate retirement investment in order to get your income you need, but you still allow you to grow. and even you talk about your estate planning and even the issue to do with your grandchildren. Okay. By definition, retirement is regarded as to be as definite as death. I think we've already established that. So why do people resent or fear retirement? I've come up with a few questions there. Why do some people refer to it as the end of the road? Why is it so much negativity about retirement? I can go retire. I don't know, 2 years. And so a lot of people look at it with disdain. Why do people still want to work after they've been officially retired? Okay. And I've tried to suggest a few observations there. We fear retirement because we did not plan for it. Because people are not psychologically prepared for it. You know, let me tell you, and this is again to do with mental health. I'm told a guy at Zimra was retired. But what he actually did was that every morning he would wake up, bath himself, wear a suit, come to the Zimra office, and that's just roam around, and then what? Then go back home, or just while up time. I'm also told of one case in Glenview, when a guy retired, the wife said, "Ndigosora nchitaura wamwe kuti chikuti makari amuchashandi. Ibvai pano munongotsvaga kunoswera kwamunodini? Kwamuri mozongoya end of the what? End of the day." So already there's that negativity around, and that people will, my status and standing in the community will then be looked differently if I'm then told that you are retired. So obviously, they are not past good stories to tell, particularly those who are retired. And also there's a case here, progress is behind age. The man is retiring, he is neither built gumusha, he has no house in town, and he has kids going to universities. So you realize at some point, look, I cannot retire because there's still my needs which are there. No, I have to respect my father-in-law has just walked in. I want to acknowledge you, Ramlandu, and your team. All right. So there is a mistaken view that the future will take care of itself. And a lot of us, even some seated here, I have an uncle who said, you know what, policy. And that's a very selfish view. But incidentally, there are people who actually think like that. You know what? And some people tell you, you put money in the pension aside. So we still have those issues and cultural vestiges that because they believe that people who benefit the money invested are others and not them. And obviously the mistaken view that they will not live long. In fact, life expectancy is actually going up. But some people think that, look, by 70, I think I would have gone. But who knows? It's very easy these days to hit a centurion, and we have many cases of such. God gives you grace and a good health. You can hit 100. So again, the myths about retirement is that people think that if they invest in their kids are going to what? Yeah, that's a narrative that existed at some point. But we all know, you and me know, that even the kids that you have today actually want to be looked after. They cannot even look after themselves, let alone even extend to look after you. And then obviously they will future to take care of itself. Then obviously people will say, look, the government is there will be NGOs, and the Kwasha wangu cannot leave me struggling, they never zukur. Am I talking to someone? So I think these things may look far-fetched, but I think there are people who actually in their mindset, believe that this thing has to be what? And yet retirement, it's an occasion when you have reached the limit of your life, you are now reflecting, you are no longer going to 8 to 5, you spend more time with your zukuri, you live on a quarter of your salary, you have now from investments from elsewhere. So we must never dread retirement. But we dread because we will not have been prepared for it. Okay? So, all right. So, retirement, then I think you now want to say to yourself, at what age do I want to retire? How much money do I want to have accumulated? And what are the expenses? Where will my money come from? Generally speaking, retirement planning is planning your finance for the period of life after you stop working, so that the urge to work is diminished by the fact that you still can maintain your lifestyle at where you are. All right. I just wanted to say here, each person's situation is unique, and therefore retirement planning isn't one standard plan for every person. Saving money for retirement through one or all of the available options is the first place to start. So the goal in retirement is to achieve financial independence so that the need to be gainfully employed becomes optional rather than necessary. Okay. Maybe comments. I don't want to sound like I'm preaching. This is just an overview, and I know I'm picking certainly issues that are very key and certain principles that may be applicable to some. Any comments so far about what I've spoken about? Yes.
Maybe the last statement on which is in red, it says the goal of retirement planning is to achieve financial independence. The goal is to achieve financial independence. And I think from what you were saying, Brother Gara, I think retirement should not be a function of age. To say when you are 55, I can retire at 35 if my ducks are organized. So it's really a function of financial independence. When I'm financially independent and I'm getting passive income that can take care of my needs, I can retire from the rat race of life. And hence the idea of the future. You know, we always think the future is a time that's coming. But your first statement when you started, the future is now. You see, our future is not a place we are going to. Our future is a place we are creating now. And the path to our future is not found, but it's made by the decisions we're making today. So I'm seeing my young brothers there. They need to be actively thinking about their retirement. And they can retire in 3 years, given the way the world is now. So it's not about a person who's 55, but we're talking about financial freedom. And I think that statement turns out clear for me.
Thank you very much. How much, Rico?
All right. I just want to add that with any retirement plan, like what he's saying, time should be your best friend. If you take a 25-year-old who starts his retirement plan today and a 40-year-old, you find that the 25-year-old will be better off. And the advice now, especially in Zimbabwe, is we need to invest in life. What it basically means is invest in things that you can see moving. Things like livestock, that's a good investment. If you start maybe buying one cow today, a 25-year-old buys a cow today, you'll be better off than someone who starts at 40. So that's the advice. Then secondly, I've seen so many people who will be disgruntled with the retirement plans, like pension funds and so forth. But if you do your mathematics, the best contributions that I've seen is around 15% if you combine the employee contribution plus the employer. So what that means is you are only replacing a month's salary in a year. So after working 25 years, you would have saved only for about 3 years' salary. So you then want that to take you maybe from 65 years to 80 years. It will not make sense. So you need to have a lot of retirement plans that are spread. In other words, spread your risk. You have a pension fund, you invest in livestock, invest in real estate. Then if you augment that, you will then be able to retire comfortably.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So I want to refer to what you said at the very beginning, that in your own life, you had investments that also basically vanished, right? And that was the beginning of your, I mean, you were planning retirement, I could say, but that vanished. Now, I want this discussion to take context also of the situation that we have, not the mainstream where your financial investments from pensions and so on are working, but how would we interpret the current circumstances that you did 2-3 options before, they all vanished, and yet to restart. Just like personally, I had to start thinking about real estate well into my life. So yeah, those are the real issues.
Okay. Right, real issues. I think we all went through. Yeah, I think we need to rethink around that. Any other comments? Yeah, Amre.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll be very brief. Yeah, I'll speak about my limited experience, about myself. At 32, I was a multi-millionaire. I'd done it. If I'd retired then, I'd have more money today than I have now. Buttressing what they are. But the challenge is physiologically and even for health purposes and social psychological reasons, if you retire too early, it won't work. You got to do some work in order to exist and continue to experience a good life. So my advice is, if you find yourself in a situation where you have been blessed highly early on, it's what you have to invest in so that it continues to look after you well into retirement, if you live that long, that is. So, and the other issue that I wanted you to clarify for us is, what is there's not going to be any clarity. What is the age of retirement? Because I'm 52 now, and I'm semi-retired, but I get more joy in working. I get more joy in making money than spending it. So when?
All right, very interesting. Yeah, observations. I think what we'll do is that I'm trying to make this as interactive as possible, so that I avoid, I think, just giving information and obviously, right. Assess your readiness to. I think by definition, your readiness to retire. Do you have enough money? Actions to improve your readiness to retire, acquire financial knowledge, and then obviously encourage your savings. Vamre was asking about that, but I'm told now this has now been revised now. I think they've upped it to 70. I think there's a new amendment to the retiring age. Even I think there's an implication with the judge when they said the judge could retire at 70. So that is no longer feasible. I think you need to set a retirement goal, know how much you need to save. And then that speaks to you with respect to the time is money. The sooner you begin saving, the better. I think the biggest mistake we all make is that we'll get a time when they've finished university, you have no other, and that, everything then just flows. can I be very candid with you? That world does not exist. Hello? That world does not exist when everything else is equalized and that you all know and you do. Now I can what? I can start saving. It doesn't work that way, apparently. And then obviously you need to set a target. It could be a monthly and a yearly target that you actually work around. You make regular, constant investments into retirement fund. Rama Shupik was talking regardless, sometimes of general economic conditions. Believe you me, people think that pensions are very small. I have an uncle who was dismissed. He used to get a $350 basic salary, and then the other one was target based. He says, I know, I decided to leave. He said to me later, $350 is a lot of money when you are out of what? Out of work. So believe you me, because now we are gainfully employed, we think those little stipends that are given to people are small. But have the opportunity of going there and asking if every month and you get those people queued by NASA or cabs, and you'll be amazed at the amount of money they are waiting for to get, as money for sustenance. So it's important. Then obviously, develop a saving habit. Don't buy anything unless you can what? You can pay for it. Saving is a culture. Hello? Saving is a what? And I dare want to tell you, even your own kids. I have a friend of mine who works in an NGO. His kids go up a gateway. Every Monday, he gives his kids $10 each. And he says by the time he gets to Friday, the one who still has $10, he gives what? Another $10. Before he start giving $10 again the following Monday. And he says, Garura, I'm trying to teach these kids the idea of what? Of saving. Because saving is a culture. It has to be ingrained in them. And I said to myself, this is really a wake-up call. Because I think we suddenly just give kids money and like confetti, they think money grows on trees. But when we believe and we want to instill with them that, look, even the concept of tithing teaches us to live on less than what we earn. It's important for us to what? To be able to appreciate. So these are some of the things. And obviously, those are some of the instruments I could give Wafungura and Mashupigo. They can spend the entire day talking to us about those options that can come to our way as we grow. But ordinarily, everything else works on cash flow. The ability of the money that comes in and the money that goes out. And embedded in that, basically, we're talking about wants and needs. If I was going to ask you, what is a need, Dr. Nduna? Okay. I'm starting. And what is a want? Yeah. So I think sometimes the things we believe are needs are actually not needs but wants. And I think therein lies a lot of our problems. Because, and I also want to say, look, there's the wife factor. I've deliberately put there, and that's why Amarongo said this, they could not join us. Because no matter how consciously prudent you are, when you write the list of things that needs to be bought, believe you me, 9 chances out of 10, any woman who is normal will come with more things than what they've what. Hello, am I talking something that's prevalent? And they'll tell you that, look, it was on special, and they have very good reasons of trying to con it. You know, TM, this, I found this one shop. So at the end of the day, it's again something that you may also actually need to what? To manage, because if you don't realize, and unfortunately, women have this punch that even when they have problems, we have problems, they actually say, isusu singabafazi lapha singenzani simelele na ubaba takamirira imona baba matinita setivakadzeri. And then you are left with the hard and difficult task of making sure that you deal with the financial challenge that's there. So I think it's an important factor for us to be able to distinguish, and even sometimes interrogate yourselves as a family whether this thing is really necessary or it can't wait. It can wait. And I believe that sometimes, even when you interrogate as a family, you put in even some of the items and say, look, is this thing a necessity or a what? Or a want? Can you not wait? And we can do it at some other time when we have money. That can also what? Happen. Okay, what's the dilemma with the pensioners? They start doing something that they should have done 20 years ago at the point of retiring. And look, I'm not saying it's entirely wrong, but sometimes even someone actually takes the whole the computation money to build their house, and sometimes they never finish. Okay? So, sometimes, buying vehicles and obviously demolishing and rebuilding one. Going for a lifetime what? A holiday, Honolulu. And then obviously, and that one, continue to what? To have children when your economic life is dissipating. Okay. I think me and my son, they are cute. But anyway, story for another day. So yeah. And then obviously keeping up appearances. We want to say, look, you know what, I can't be told that's not me, I'm still here. Yeah? And the issues to do with the perceptions come in as well, and comparing lifestyles, and dealing with depending on children for your livelihoods, and obviously the wife factor that we've spoken about. Again, these issues are real. They are not, So consider a second job when it's really absolutely necessary. When do you consider to take a second job? Consider that when it's really absolutely what? Necessary. Because ordinarily, you also don't want a job that strains you, and you can either do mornings only, or you can, don't take something that strains you or something that is totally off what you are doing. Otherwise, you'll be stressed to your deathbed. Okay? And then obviously, another similar position, these are some positions that actually can be used. You can, invigilation in public examinations, doing clerical work in legal firms, election registration, you can be a chairman or an election agent of any political party. These helping company annual festivals, and even Jerry will tell you my ushers during my marathon are normally very old and retired citizens. These again just to keep yourself occupied so that you don't rust away. And obviously, so we're saying here, when you're going to retire, this thing obviously does not come as a shock. You are well aware. So involve your spouse and family members as much as possible. And even the issues to do with finance, wamanyika vane problem yekuti vaisita basa rekubvisa mari kanonzi kachihadis. All the money would come from what? And normally when women see that, they think that the pocket is very what? Is very deep and it never runs. But believe you me, if you are transparent with your finances, I think it helps you a lot, McDavid, so that everything's what? So I think it's also important. Then choose your lifestyle that meets your what? Your pocket. And make a conscious decision. Are you going to stay in town, or you are going to Musha, or you are going to Praz? That must never be a second guess. You must be very conscious. It must not come by accident. And then obviously, we still talk about distinguishing your wants and needs in the process. And obviously, your financial status at the point of retirement, Tafadzwa, will be what? your money from your workplace, some of your savings, your NASA, life policy, your money from annuity and pension scheme. So this is what will constitute your money. And then obviously, if you used to contribute monies to families, people must now know that, look, although I used to contribute very significantly when there's a death in the family, I no longer can afford. And then also, sometimes the best answer is no. I just can't do that, and obviously, avoid Wanam Kando. And let me hasten to say here, there are parents who have lost their living houses when their kids have come back home and say, Mdaraga, I think we'll make money. Unzaima title deeds, bank this, and they will do all the maths. And as a parent, very trusting and thinking that they're also helping the child and helping themselves, people end up losing what? The homes that they are staying in. So my admonition, no matter how good a proposal is being brought, no, list even your own children, please, I beg you, don't. So it's important, obviously, and also avoid Wanachimbazwa and the very unauthentic mukandos. They will tell you to look. And you know what? The people that solicit and that rip up people with money, they will say, bring your money, we'll give you twice as much. They will do it once, they will do it twice, they will do the third time, the fourth time. And by the time you get to the fifth time, you have already borrowed from 3, 4, 5 people in order for you to what? And then you go, then you'll be told, these guys left here last month. Where to? We don't know where they are now, what their offices are. And meanwhile, you owe a lot of people one. So be very careful. Anything that looks overly paying, you must run away from it. So obviously, these are monies that you should never be tampered with or compromised. Obviously, your medical aid and your funeral policy and your rates and water. There are people that have lost their houses because they have not been servicing their rates and water. And obviously, groceries, your monthly grocery, and obviously rent. If you are still renting, you don't have your own house. These are monies that we believe you need to what? Again, this is handling retirement funds. Have the discipline to avoid impulsive buying. Do not commit to payments that are unbudgeted for. Do not compete with those. Again, develop a habit of withdrawing your monthly payments, maybe 2 or 3 months, because if you take them every month, sometimes they may not make that significant amount in payment, as it were. And then obviously, do not get into the habit of borrowing or lending people. Live in dignity. Do not be a liability to others. If you were used to staying in a big house, when you have an empty nest, it's not bad to move into a what? Into a smaller house, a flat, or even a cottage, and get more income, because you basically don't need 7, 8 bedrooms when you're just you and your wife. Kumusha is an option also, but make the place habitable. I don't know whether people are aware now. There is a movement. People now want to build Kumusha. I think particularly those that are coming from the diaspora. They realize that they could not afford the stand in town, and they are creating their small town Kumusha, solar bowl and everything. So it still remains a plausible, because a lot of things Kumusha are not paid for. You just get things free. So it remains a plausible. And don't be worried about what people will think. They will already think anyway. Don't be worried about what people will say, Prof. They will say it anyway. I think you need to cut. And then obviously, now with all this knowledge, what do we want to do? Do something and you have to do it today. It's never too late. Huh? Invest in an investment fund if you have not started to. And if you want assistance, we have Mashupiko Arimuno, and many others that can help us. It's something that I think it's important. Let's just make sure Taisa something by what? Per side. Because it projects you as a what? As an organized person. Are we together? So it's important that we do that. Secondly, involve everyone in financial planning. So, I always say what works for business works for families too. Why not sit down with your wife and sometimes even kids and say, look, guys, this is what we are planning to do as a family. It's amazing to even to my school trip and Daddy, we can't go. Isn't that you said we are building? But sometimes we think these kids are too young. In fact, they know 3, 4, 5 times what you knew at your age. So let's involve the family in all the issues to do with what? With financial planning, because they are integral part. Number 3, start a small project on the sidelines. Hello? Start a small project on the sidelines. It could be chicken run, it could be greenhouse, it could be near the Mombes or something of that nature. I think it's important for us, you start, and then obviously concentrating on projects that bring passive what? Passive income. If you have 3, 4 houses that can be giving you an average of 10,000 every month, that's passive income. So you don't necessarily have to be there in order for that one, for that money to come through. Okay? Again, it's important. Then obviously, live on less than what you are earning, because money does not grow on trees. I think, again, the element of frugality, it's very key for us to make sure that we put money aside. There are people in this, some of them may even be here, who, if by any chance their salary does not get in the day that it usually get, for him to go back home. And the wife there will actually do, Baba, people who live patambo. I think we need to have the sense of that frugality, I think, working in the future. And then obviously, stay focused on your what projects, where there is a focus, energy flows. I think there's a tendency among Zimbabweans that if I see Nikadzino doing well in Kombis, I also go into what? Into Kombis. If I see Vamlandu doing well with the honey, I also go in what? And people forget that every business has got a gestation period, and it goes through a cycle. You are seeing Vamlandu Wapa chapter 22 of that project, honey. But you think you can just catapult yourself from page 1 to page 22? It will not happen that way. And then also take a long view of life in everything you do, even in investments. Let's not look at short term. It was not raining when Noah started building an ark. So I think we must always have that long-term view. And then obviously spread your investment. I think Mama Shupika spoke about it. You need to make sure that I always say, when you are doing rain harvesting or water harvesting, if you put 3, 4 buckets, you will certainly harvest more water than one who will put 1. Hello? So I think it's important for us, even in our investment. Property, yes. What else have you done? Mombes, yes. What else have you done? Maybe a policy, yes. What else? So that you actually spread your risk. You don't want to put everything in one basket. And then obviously also develop what I would call a secondary skill. It took me to go to Botswana to realize that, look, I could also talk to people, I could facilitate. And now it's something that even on weekends, I get invited to churches, certain organizations. It becomes part and parcel of it. So sometimes you need to just find out what else can you do apart from just Kubasa. Okay? And I think it's important for us to make sure that we develop that area. And then always have a mentor, a life coach to guide you. How many of us have someone whom they share, even life issues and even oral issues to do with finance? Let's just show by raise of hand. Okay. I think it's very important. And I think we have a lot of elders in this church whom you can what? Sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's wisdom in what? In counsel. And I think it's important even at our levels to interact and be able to. And then like I already said, let's not be a copycat. Have your own life and live yours. So maybe let's again try and discuss and see the issues I've spoken about. Do they make sense? Yeah, Afungura. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the issue that you spoke about to say, do something right now. I've had challenges at work whereby I thought probably tomorrow is my last day at work. And I've always consulted friends to say, gentlemen, should I now jump and do my own things? And they've always said to me, if you jump, what are you going to do tomorrow? First time, I didn't have anything that was lined up. Second time, I had an option to say, if I'm fired today, tomorrow I'll start doing something. Then he says, before you jump or before you're fired, go and do it tomorrow. So I like the element of that you're talking about to say, do something right now. Don't wait to be fired for you to do something. Do something right now. So I've had 3 cases whereby I almost gave up to say, I've been stressed so much, I now need to jump. And the same friend has always said to me, what have you done? So last time when we spoke, what did you do? I did X. Last time when we spoke, what did you do? I did Y. This time, what are you going to do? And I've always found it a very good way of propelling you into doing something right now. Instead of me waiting to be fired and then ask the question, what am I going to do? Thank you.
Powerful. They tell me that the possibility of a parachute not opening
So that becomes your work, all right? Rather than to say, I want to continue growing, because you can actually pull others. So that becomes your type of work at that point. So you just change form of work, but you don't stop working. That's number 2. Number 3, planning. Planning is very important. Quite a lot of challenges we have in Africa are around the fact that we don't plan. We just do. Many a time, if I would ask today, so that we simplify things, how many planned for today? You'll find that we just arrived and things are just flowing because it's just not our makeup to plan. I've worked with white folks. Those people plan. They plan like no man's. They say, okay, aren't these people being pedantic or being, is this necessary? But when you look at their success rate,
It's actually on the basis of planning. So what becomes is dependent on planning. So that's point number 3. Number 4, so in other words, what we're talking about is important. It's a good culture to save and to invest. Then point number 4, saving is important and saving is not investment. I see many people use those words interchangeably. They are not the same. Saving is putting on the side. Investment is growing, right? Very important to master those two, because oftentimes people say save, investment, I can use the words interchangeably. No, they are not the same. Investment is application of self into how you want to grow what you have saved. Very important. So you can't invest what you have not saved. I hope it's understandable. So in other words, it's like steps. You work to save, then invest. Very important, those steps, because sometimes you just say, the same. Right? Then the next one of investment. I think as gentlemen here, I'm just going to say to invest in knowledge of basic investment. Because you can't invest when you don't know what investment is. Otherwise, then you get to be told by others. And then it means your investment is dependent on what others are telling you, not what you are planning to do. 1, number 2, what you are planning on the basis of your strengths. Number 3, on the basis of your culture. Number 4, on the basis of your circumstance. Because we come from different circumstances and we are going to travel different journeys in life, even though they are generally the same, but they are not identical. Then number 6, investment is important to understand that it's about application, right, in a variety of vehicles. So we shouldn't focus on the vehicles as if that's the end in it, because Mashupigo talk about a retirement fund, because that's what's crafted in a financial services sector. But you can actually have investment in engineering. You can actually have investment in real estate. You can actually have investment in different types of vehicles, which are not necessarily retirement fund, right? So let's just know that there are ways, and I think that was his point, to say invest in different and variety of areas and of vehicles. Number 7, which I think for me is the most important. I think as Zimbabweans, we must learn risk management. It's important because our circumstances is such that we have policies that are developed. They change our circumstance quickly, economically, socially, and otherwise. So we must point, Prof, that's exactly what we do. So this is the practical part. We should manage risk. In other words, comes what happens. But what happens, and say, see you next Sabbath. Regrettably, right? Now I'm talking to those are the practicalities. Because if you don't share, for example, if you ask me, what does the monetary policy statement that was pronounced last week mean? I could give you snippets as an example, because I could be closer to that. All of us, unfortunately, whether we like it or we don't like it, it's just like money. When it's defined, whether I like it or I don't like it, know it or I don't know it, it still just impacts life, right? So sharing like we're doing needs to be more regular, and let's do this thing. That's what's practical. What are you doing? What's helping you? What have you done? Okay. And as we share, that's actually what we should focus much more on. Manages risks much better than keeping those things to ourselves. Unfortunately, going back to our culture, Africans, we love competing against each other. I don't know where we get this from. We don't want to move together. We want to move alone and then look at others and say, yeah, I've done well. That's not what life is about. Regrettably, that's what we sometimes pursue. Lastly, discipline. Discipline is important. All these things we're talking about, they can only happen to the extent that we make decisions to do them. I noticed all the things that you gave as examples, very practical, important. But coming from here, what will Ashbel do? If he doesn't have discipline, he said, I ain't got time to say, all that is not important. Just as an example, right? We talked about an issue about diasporans coming and so forth, and that's actually true.
They are building, and they've noted that, no, it's actually cheaper. Of them, most of the diasporans are not as wealthy. Right? So they've noted, actually, for me to actually make a life in Zim, and some want to come back, I need to make sure that I put something where I can actually come and then land. And how did they come to that? They've come together as a community, shared, and the other will give examples and say, oh, okay, it works. And then they've learned from each other. And out of discipline, they've started doing that, and like you said, it's working. Number last, we need to be multi-skilled. Gone are days where I will say, for example, I'm primarily trained as an actuary. But if you ask me about actuary, I think I now know little about it, but I know about other facets of life because it's important. And I think it's very important we should know all the things that are happening around us, multi-skill ourselves so that we can be able to manage our lives a little bit better. Sorry for having taken too much time.
That's okay. It's important. I think what Elder Fungura is trying to do here is just to tell us the insights of what's very key for us. My Indians are not the Indian web. They operate within the context of helping each other. The Jews are actually schooled when they are very, very young that you will exist in order to help another what? Another Jew. So I think it's important that these things, and also let's be very practical. And in training, we're saying to know and not to do is not to know. Hello? Yeah, to know and not to do is not what? Is not to know. To understand and not to do is not to understand it also. I think it's very important. Mr. Yeah?
Just a request that Elder Fungura shares those.
Yeah, so the people are saying, can you share the points even on the men's forum? That would be good. Yes.
Thank you very much, Elder Garura. I wanted to just say some of the points, I think it was number 1 on the second presentation about investing in policies and also linking it to what Elder Fungura said, that the current status in our economy and the changes in legislature regarding these investments. You mentioned when you were doing the presentation of the 2008 when everything went to zero in any policy. So what I wanted to ask is the other ways. I heard that Mama Shupiko actually highlighted that there are other ways. Those other ways or other routes that we can actually use to say, let's put in these maybe examples and people pick from those.
Other examples, the ways, other avenues. I think I have a slide that I'll probably share with you with respect to what we can do under the circumstances that are on our core and what I also went through. So I think we will also share that. Anyone with a different view?
I have 2 questions, Elder. I also want to pick up from what Elder Fungura said when he mentioned risks, because that's a very scary word. And to that, if there are people who have experiences here, I've had a couple of contacts with people who talk about financial investments. I don't know if someone here work with a company, they call themselves Devias or something like that. And they've come to me, I'm a bit skeptical, I don't know, because I'm sure they're in business. They cannot just want money from me to spin it for me without them getting anything. I don't know how that works, but it could be something that works. If there are people with experiences, it would be nice to know whether that really works. Number 2 is stock exchange. I have a friend who is a broker, and he always talk about, I can spin your money for you. Do these things really work if people who have benefited from them so that I can learn?
There's element of risk that Doc Nduna talked about, and also the issues to do with the stock market. I think if someone has had experiences, I think you can also help us. Someone wants to talk? Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think the one thing that we have to define now that we are delved into the spaces, which is the reason that I came. We've got to define to define our environment our economy, right? You know, Caleb is way my senior. He went to college with my Sekuru, Chief Charumbira, and Chief Charumbira spoke highly of one Caleb Garura, who was a sharp mind and stuff like that. But I was always resistant, you know how it was. But today I had to come to listen to him. But the idea is the environment in which whatever we are discussing or talking about here today, what does it require of us to succeed and prevail and, until our demise? Now, this economy in which we operate, there's two sides to it. I've made money on the stock market, and I've lost money. And people have lost their livelihoods on the stock market. I've bought a retirement annuity, and I have educational policies for my children, Takana and Juliet. And they came to nothing 10 years later. That's the 2000 and whatever you guys are describing. You know, I spoke to an expert from Old Mutual. I was very connected to an old gentleman, Graham Holick, who was the head of Old Mutual and Cabs. He liked me because he had sold me his house in Alex Park. And he had educated me about how it was important to invest in these annuities, educational, retirement, and I believed him. And I lost big time. I got nothing, literally nothing, you know. Now, it is the environment. We've got to define the environment first, brothers. Now, this environment in which we exist in this country, if you want to take my advice, what I've learned, the little that I know, is invest in matter. In matter, it's something physical that exists, not in paper. But Fungura will not agree with me because he's running a bank. He wants you to deposit your money is there, right? So that he can lend. And they lend short, 6 months, 1 year most, right? Because they want their money very quickly because they're also scared of the environment, isn't it? But they won't tell you this environment is dicey. Now, we got to define the environment, brothers. So in this environment, now if you want to hear me, I've survived because I've invested in real estate, in substance. I've also built a home, Kumusha. It's a double-story home, yeah. It's electrified and running water and all. In the likely event that I lose everything, I can easily... also, still at that, don't go and spy on me, on your wives. There's no woman who can claim your rural home from you. On the papers, right? It's an ancestral home because we're talking of the land, right? So there's no woman who will say, but imbaye kumusha andinoida. Come on. He wants his mic. I could go on and on. There's a lot that I want to, which I told you, I'm rebellious to convention, right? Because convention does not work in our environment, right? It doesn't work here, at least for now and into the foreseeable future, but it will work at maybe for children or that is not our business. We find ourselves here and we should be able to manage and exist and prevail in this environment. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Amre. I think what's becoming very fundamental is good. I think we may need a different session in which we'll talk about just the economic. How do we invest in such an economic environment? What are the risks? What are the low-hanging fruits? What are the stretch? So that really we actually focus all the energies, and obviously we get insights and also experience some people's experience And what Mureya is saying is very profound because a lot of people are very hesitant, even if someone comes and approaches you to take what? A life policy, because we have been bent once, twice, we feel that, look, you know what, I can't go the third time. So I think it's important. Maybe Tafadzwa, before I go back to my slides, I want to leave time for.
I heard a lot of guys here who were saying they are farmers. Can I see farmers? Farmers? Those who are farming. Pane wakamburima potatoes. Potatoes? Anyone? My experience with potatoes, just the simple mathematics. You put on 1, you get 3. The cost of doing 1 hectare of potatoes is 10,000. After 4 months, you get 30. We are talking about the practicalities of things that can be done for us to make the money. Also, the other thing is, mukaenda neni kumbare mukoma ndinonzi magrass mumbaro musika kumira mukoma. Number 1. Number 2, I think Vamure were right. We need to be very practical about our environment. I don't want to be frugal in my approach to life. I need to increase my capacity to earn. Frugality is not a model that I would go for, but I need to increase my capacity. And one mathematical formula says your capacity in life is a square of the things that give you money. So if I've got 1 job and I get 1 salary, my capacity is 1 squared. And what's the answer? If I've got 2 things that I'm doing, my capacity is 2 squared. My capacity is 4. 3 squared, 9. So we need to have cash cows, things that give you money. Ndine munda wangu ma potatoes, uri apa. Ndine munda wangu ma domas, uri apo. I'm increasing my what? My capacity. And then, pane chinhu chinonzi passive income. Passive income is income yaunowana usiri kushanda. Vamurei vataura kuti he has invested big time in real estate. Because what then happens over time, rental income yangu, like, okay, my target would be, there should be a figure to it. My target is to have rental passive income of $10,000 a month. If I'm making $10,000 a month, it's passive income, I'm financially free. In other words, I'm retired. Retirement is not a function of kushanda, but enough on a dry day or what I say, can I come back to 10,000 yangu say? And my lifestyle doesn't change. So, imanyaya, chinonzi kuve rich, achimezhwe nemari iri kubank. That's why mari dzakazoto disappear dzanziri kubank. Chinonzi rich is measured by time. How much do you have to take you for what length of time maintaining the same lifestyle? So if you have got $1 million and it lasts you 3 months, you're not a rich guy. You're not. So to our young guys and to us young people, guys, let's not depend on one income. It's 1 squared. You remain at 1. Let's start projects. And they ought not to be small projects.
Yeah, that's very profound. Vafungura, I doubt to teach at one point. Yeah, or did I want to say something? You want to say something? The wisdom of the old. We have seen it all.
No, I was going to, you're forcing me to say something. I'll say. So I think there are 2, broadly speaking, I would put it into 2. Number 1, we must generate income. Number 2, we must preserve the income. Because if you generate it and you are not preserving or holding value or increasing value, that becomes a problem. So typically, I think a salary is good to go to work. But I think you want to start to have multiple income streams so that at least you can continue building your income base.
Just quickly, I think I'll just highlight one point. Of all the investments that exist, there's none with zero risk. Yeah, because we shouldn't get to a point where we start to say, if you do this, then you anchored. All investments have risk. Actually, investment is risk management of your savings. So I just thought I should mention that.
To conquer without risk is to triumph without glory. The greater the risk, the greater the glory. Okay? So it's important, eh? So, in fact, any person who has never risked has never lived. But the only risk that we've done is Gorora Madzmayati now. We need to go beyond that. So I think very interesting conversations. And then I think with the traction and what we are doing, we may need to do a repeat, because I don't think we are making justice. There are a lot of issues that are coming to out here. So we need to ventilate them and even give practical. And I keep stressing the word practical solutions, so that takeaways here don't become something theoretical, but something that can actually be applied in life situation. Now, look, if you are going to be doing a project, I think these are things we're just putting across to you. You do your cash flows on any project. I think this emphasis is not do projects, not just project. Do what? Projects. Okay? And
I think we need another session, but we would not be doing justice to ourselves if we don't get Fungura participating, because he's loaded. He knows. He has just given us a tip of it, that there is always risk, whether it is in real estate or any money, whatever paper form it is with it. But within the context of our environment, I would like him to come on board and advise, because we're going to tap into him. We cannot suffer while he exists. Let's make use of our resources.
I think, thank you very much, Amre. I think for your comfort, we have already approached him, Navadeda, and at some point he actually intimated that he is free and he can be able to bring one chap from his workplace to obviously help us. So I think what's then remained is the Armor Forum to arrange that. So, okay, so we in those many projects, let's try and make sure that we capture those things so that we actually make business sense. Any venture that we are making, and then obviously these are things probably that are very cardinal, but I think that we need to be alive at. And then obviously, like I've said, never put your house as what? As collateral. I think, your appetite for risk must never be at the expense of the rationality and prudence. I'm coming back again with risk. You're saying? I think the house that you are staying in. Practical.
So our challenge is this. A lot of us have got one home and we want to move forward and tap into these opportunities that are being talked about. This man here, without your house, he will not give you a cent. No matter how much he knows you, and no matter how good your project is, he won't give you what? Money. Help us on that one. Are there opportunities available that don't need a house? If they are, guys, let's tell each other, because Mrungo Jikamega maybe. Are there any opportunities? And also, as a disclaimer, whatever you guys are saying, even if we are together as men here, it's being live streamed. So they can all.
I'm sorry, Amre. I think you had a disclaimer. Okay. All right. I think what I'm trying to avoid is to move away from why we are here. I think the issues to do with collateral, I think they're very important. And Mr. Tachona, you can actually be able to help us. When we can, when is it plausible, home improvement and the like. I think it's something that we can actually then, I think, interrogate on a particular day and be able to ventilate. But can you allow me to just quickly run and then I'll come to you, Amre. So we're saying your appetite for risk must never be at the expense of what? The rationality and prudence. I think we need to manage risk, and I think we have been talking about it for the last 3 or so. And then also avoid the get-rich-quick schemes, and then obviously the pyramid schemes, and obviously the high-yielding interests that are unauthentic. I think we spoke about this earlier on. I think we need to be very, and then obviously stay out of debt. I'm speaking specifically to the person who now is actually retired or who has now scaled his work, because you need, if you are in debt, you need not dig more. Okay? So, and then also don't overborrow as well, whatever. And then plan to buy a vehicle that is not costly to run. I think it's important, because you're no longer as financially fluid as you. And obviously, maybe what Wama Shupika was mentioning, how do I restore value? I think these are some of the issues or suggestive options. Your insurance still comes in there, no matter that is, we have been bashed before, Wamlandu. Your Mombes gets in there. Your Mbuzi project, I'm told the Muslim community buys a lot of these, particularly so if you can tap into them. And I'm told again there is a market in the Middle East. Buying stands and property, Vamre has already told us. And then building a BNB. At this juncture, I know I've not asked him for his permission. My brother and elder, Wadeda, operates a what? A BNB. And I just want maybe briefly in 2-3 minutes just to share what it has been for, because I think that's one element of a passive income. And that some of us are sitting on 4,000, 2,000 square meters and doing nothing other than just, admiring the land.
So these young people like to ask me to talk without me volunteering. Anyway, look, I think Vampuponi mentioned earlier on about an empty nest. So say you've got a 4-bedroom house, and the 2 of you are using 1 bedroom. There's scope for you, without relocating from your home, to utilize the excess rooms that you have for what? For income. And it's different, like from renting out for a full month. You can use it on specific days. You can block certain days, or you can use them. So maybe, let's say you've got your children coming for a month or for a week. That is not available. So you can then put it on various platforms. Airbnb is one, booking.com is another. There are many forums where you place your facility on the internet, and they book. You use an account. And it's literally passive income. And maybe also for people who are like semi-retired or retired, you can then actually host people. And over time, these people can actually become like friends also, because they are repeats. So people are actually becoming this year. Next year they are coming. They actually say, look, if you're doing it properly, we are coming back. And they also refer. So most of the people, we've been doing it, I think, for a couple of years now. And literally, the bulk of the people who come are people who've been there more than once. So I think we found it to be a bit worthwhile.
Thank you very much. And I think it's something that we need to obviously borrow and be able to, put our mind to it, and that we can be able to tap into. And I think it's quite very plausible. All right. So these are things we can, again, your horticultural, greenhouse, I think these are things we can also do. So maybe before we go into, these are probably just the last slides that I would love to someone? Okay. So I wanted us to just say to ourselves, if you were told that or if you were disabled, you're involved in a car accident, you get disabled, would your family be able to live their normal life that they are living now? I think for me, that's home truth. And that actually tells us the state at which our financial independence that Tafadzwa Nyakadzino was talking about, their ability to say, how far long can my family go with that which I had saved or that I've put aside without necessarily having to go around with a begging bowl? And that really becomes, and the issues I'm talking about, these are real things. You can wake up tomorrow from nowhere, you are with some medical condition that cannot allow you to apply yourself vocationally, to work. What else? What have you put aside? And I think I want us to, as men, that responsibility falls directly on our shoulders. And that if there's anything that this seminar has done, is to open our eyes and to say to ourselves, what else can I do with the little time that God has given me in order for me to multiply my income streams, so that the family is secured. There's nothing, do you know, there's nothing as demeaning as to know that you just become the father because you are wearing a trousers. But the person who is actually a breadwinner is the woman. It demeans, look, they will tell you that, don't worry, Soko, don't worry, they pay you. But deep down in your heart, you don't feel what? Even in certain instances that you ordinarily would have raised voices, you will not be able, because perchance you are now fearing that, you'll be told, So gentlemen, I speak to myself in as much as I speak to you. I think this is a wake-up call for us. And I also want to start off by saying, look, I think we can do something even as men. Eh? Why not start our own mokando? I don't know, I know Wafungura will not want to hear this. Why should I go to ZB when I have my amo mukando? Which means they say I can take $1,000 and then when I bring it back, I bring it here and a small interest. Yeah. But So, but what I'm saying is that I think this is something we can think around. And we can, opportunity as fulfilling as helping a fellow brother. Brother Sabola. Yeah. Because we all are going to the same heaven, isn't it? So why can we not, success is not what you do for yourself. Success is what you do for what? For others. And my question is that it must worry us if someone else seated around here, we know is what? Is still renting, he doesn't live his own property. What have we done to make sure that we capacitate that individual in order for him to what? To have a dwelling? And I think more than anything else, retirement only then becomes an outward. It shows what has been happening. It shows what has been happening. It's only coming out as a symptom. But what we need to do is to do, and we do it right now. And I want to encourage you, brothers, that it's never too what? It's never too late. In fact, if you see a lot of people that made money, they made money, in their twilight of their what? Yes. The man, the KFC man, he was how old? I think it was 80 what? Yeah. A lot, I think we can pick up 8, 9 people that made money. So there's a lot of wisdom, I think, and when we fail, let's try again. Do you know a study that is now also been made is that people that were A performers, sometimes when you follow them in life, they are not as good about life than the one that were doing corrections. Because a person who used to fail knows that I can do corrections and then get it right. So in their mindset, they already psyched the fact that if I fail, I'll try again. And I want to say 9 out of 10 millionaires or billionaires have started a project and what? and failed. So if you want to increase your success rate, increase your failure rate. How many projects have you started and failed? How many risks have you done? Yes, if you don't win, they'll timbe, but you have no wisdom. You know what not to do, what not to do. And I think as gentlemen, we can actually be a depository of knowledge, sharing information and experiences of what to do and not what to do, how the conditions have changed and how now the conditions are different. So at the end of, I also want to say, retirement living is about more than just money. I think this is really just when someone begins to scale down, you also want to make sure that you have something to do. And I'm happy my teacher here says, look, I've started writing. We have a lot of experiences we have, but we have never put those experiences onto paper. And I always challenge the subordinates I work with that I want to die empty. It's no use taking all the experiences and information I have in the head to the grave. And I always say, people say, look, but this is intellectual property and who? What about Varungu who put everything on YouTube for anyone to pick and take? It speaks again to the issue Fungura was talking about, that sometimes we want the glorification, we want to succeed and in a sea of poverty. And I don't know why we would get joy and glory out of that. I think it's important for us. So you also get to do things that you have always wanted to do. Make life plans. If you wanted to go to, I've never climbed Mount Nyangani, I've never done this. Some of the things you have never done in your life, if you have planned on them to do, please, that's the opportunity also to do. And then obviously, keep your mind sharp. There are people that have actually gone into depression. Harare City Council in 2016 retrenched 2,000 employees. And by the following year, about 35 employees actually died. So it's important again to get a psychological help if you're going to be retired. Because suddenly you wake up and they have nothing to do, nothing occupies your space, you're just busy reading newspaper and looking at the television. And more so if you have challenges. So I think it's important to always exercise our mind and make sure that we live for a purpose, as Pastor Mjengi said yesterday. And then obviously volunteer. There are a couple of opportunities that we can do, not just in the church, but even in the communities we live. Currently, we have, as a nation, we have challenges with drug abuse and addiction. We can also, play. We have a lot of experience we have had that we can also help and the community. And then obviously, you also need to develop friendship. You can never underestimate the fact of relationship because human beings are by nature relational. If you stay alone, you will collapse and you will die. And then obviously ask your spouse or partner, if you live with someone, they have close, retiring, living, homes, shared experience. It's important to make time for you and a partner to both share your dreams. And let's not tussle. We have had situations where some retirements don't end well. The wife says we must stay in town. The husband says we must go Kumusha. And you find, two-way traffic. So whatever you are going to plan and do, let it be something that's you have all agreed and discussed so that you operate as a family. And then obviously increase your financial stability. I think it's important even as you age. And keep your spirits up and remain healthy. I think that's a story for another. Vamarong has talked about that. You need to have a yearly check, Zema prostate, your BP checks and stuff. These are things that you need to, even as you age. So, my last motivation is that you may rediscover a new talent from now on. You never know. You may take on a new profession that can uplift you higher than you ever were. Nothing happens by accident because success is not an accident. Otherwise, we all would have been successful. And then obviously, always know that you are special before God. You have done the best and you deserve the best. Remember, it's never, never too late to start off again. The future begins now. Like I said, gentlemen, this is supposed to be actually a day's workshop, but I tried to compress and as you can see, a lot of insights and questions, comments are coming up. I think it will be animus from me to say, Wamarong, I think we will require another time. But if anyone who has 2, 3, 4 questions, and then maybe just to say, Dr. Msosh, in 4 or 5 minutes, what have been your experience from, you used to wake up, now you are conscious that you are not at work. Has that dented your routine or affected you, just your personal experience?
Well, I'm not sure, but I'm still very happy. I am still very involved, still very busy. Every day I get up at 3 a.m. That's part of my daily schedule. 3 a.m. I'm up and I'm busy with my writing, and that keeps me very busy and going. And yeah, but if I were to share just about preparing for retirement, let me speak to someone who is coming from a low income bracket, because that's where I came from a very low income. When I got married, I didn't know that I was very poor. We got married. I had just one metal chair and a second one for my wife to sit on and for her, and a very old bed, no table, nothing else. But I didn't know I was poor. I was very happy. And then I had the opportunity. In fact, I had started writing much earlier. I wanted to go as a student to Andrews University, but I didn't have the money. So what I did was I started writing articles, and they were accepted in America by some magazines where they were accepting my articles. And then instead of them paying me, I directed them to pay the university because I wanted to go there. So I wrote and wrote, so many of them. Some never got published, but they paid me for those. I think they were just being very generous. And then when I got there and I looked back, that's when I discovered I was very poor. But I didn't want to stay in that situation. When I come back home, I told my wife, I said, when we come back home, I don't want us to be disoriented at the airport. And we start saying, where are we going? So I knew I had to pay school fees and to pay the living expenses with children going to school, but I got 2 jobs. But there's this principle of a delayed gratification. I never bought a single suit, brand new suit, because I decided we've got to save. The most expensive suit I bought was $10. I never bought a brand new pair of shoes, not a brand new. The only brand new thing I bought were underwears and socks. I saved a little bit. Now, this is for someone coming, it may help someone coming from low income. I saved a little bit, and I called my brother. I said, hey, can we think of getting some property? Then he says, well, I don't have money. I said, let's put the money together. So the 2 of us bought an apartment in town. And then we also got a loan from CAPS. But the people who were in the house paid up. They were paying the monthly mortgage. 1996, we had finished paying up the house, and I flew to Zimbabwe. I sold that house, we sold that apartment. I got 120, my brother got 120. And then I went to CAPS. CAPS gave me a loan. I had the deposit. I bought a house in Belvedere. And that was the beginning of getting into real estate for us. We were so excited about that house in Belvedere. Then when we decided to come back, I took my wife there. And oh, okay. I saw she was not excited at all. And I made a decision right there. This house is gone. But I had also organized with my other brother, and we had bought a flat, an apartment in Bristol, the two of us, because we didn't have enough money. He didn't have enough. So we bought it together. And later on, I sold it. And then I got some piece of property in Borodale. Yeah, it was 1 point something acres. That's where we wanted to build our home. But then the people who were developing, the developers took a long time. So we finally had to sell that, and then we decided to go to Mount Pleasant Heights. That's where we are now. That's where we built our home. But you know what gives me peace is that I am retiring without resources. Yeah, I mean financial resources. I don't have much money. But you know what gives security is that you have a roof overhead. You have a home, and you don't owe anybody. So a home is very critical. And work on the principle of delayed gratification. And by the way, my other friends who were in the US, they were buying cars. One of my friends went and bought a car, $33,000 US car. The most expensive car that I ever got was 1,000. It was a ramshackled thing, but you know what? I didn't mind what people thought about it. There's one that they called Lazarus. Yes. But you know, I was thinking of the future. Always think about the future. The future is more important than now. So, even if you have little income, decide, make your decision. The future is more important than now. And the house is more important than the car. Because the car is not an investment. You buy it today, you sell it 2 months ahead, you cannot sell it at the price that you bought it for. It has already lost value. So, focus on what gives value. Sorry, I got too much time from you. Thank you so much.
That's okay. No, thank you very much. I think that's wisdom right there. That's wisdom that's right there. I always give example that sekuru vanogona kubikira tea, a CEO, anditi anopfeka madesigner suit, who is renting kumandara. Ivo sekuru vaya vaine dzimba 2-3 Glenview, Highfield neSunningdale. Very possible. So it's not how much you get, but how prudent you become with what you get. And I think that must give us comfort, so that munhu asambofunga kuti ndikubasa kwangu handipiwi mari yakadi yakawanda. Sometimes it's how we make use of the little that God has given us. I think I would want to end it up here if there are no comments, and give the program back to Wamarongwe just to wrap it up. I hope if I have not given you much, but I think I probably gave you a bit of some homework to think about certain things that have not become apparent, and that obviously we discuss these things with his family. and that we walk away here as a takeaway to be more informed about what the future holds for us and what we need to do more importantly. And as I've said, to know and not to do is not to know. To understand and not to do is not to understand. Over to you, Amarong.
Thank you, Vagar. Let's just give him a round of applause. Thank you. I know we could spend the whole evening here. There are a lot of ideas. What we discuss on the Adventist Agricultural Forum, that is coming in, the type of investments. What we are discussing on Great Minds is also coming in. So this is quite something packed. But gentlemen, can you see that it's very easy for us to come together and do this? And Mona, it didn't take much. It didn't take much. We didn't take too much sacrifice. We have picked up something. And what he has said is, let's go and do. So what's the way forward? We are going to share with you the slides. Vafungura is going to share with us what he presented, the summary of it, and it. Then we will share on the platform the next time that we are meeting on a Sunday, and we are going to have Vafungura come and now speak to us on the actual things that we need to do, and it, for us to start now growing our incomes and start investing in our future and retirement plans. I want to thank all our visitors who are not normally from here. I know Vamlandu. Ndimistani? Vamsevenzo, anditi? Okay. Tinwald, anditi? Then kuna? Vashoma, coming from Tinwald also. Okay, Comrade Mlandu towaziva. Takarwa na hondo, makora apfura. Who else did I not see? A young man, Julius is here. You got your visa. What's his name? Vani? Welcome from here. Vachitagwa. Vachitagwa. Put them to your home church. Kana moyo chiwe haikuchechi right. I know. Right. So thank you everybody for coming. The young men who came along, besides saving food, but you also picked up something and did. And that's what's important, guys. So what I want us to do is, let's be a bit more deliberate about what we want to do as men. We don't want this to be a talk show. Are we good with that? So from now going forward, each one starts developing what they want to develop. And they are deliberate about it. And we can share on our platform to say, you know what I'm doing, and it's not bad to share, or to ask for ideas, or join these other groups that are there and participate in what is going on. We spoke when we started about the young men's plight. And I know you always didn't want to say, we didn't come prepared, we didn't want, but Muruman Fambaga, but I'm mad. Yeah, and I don't understand. Udunga fambe ushinda unakana send that aziti. Ukaronzo awareness unakana send then don't nyebera. You want to lie to us. All right. So we need to put our hands in our pockets. All right. Let's collect money that is going to go towards helping that young man. I'm going to ask these young boys. And Zach is here. Zach, collect money from people right now. If you've got money in your car, quickly go and get money in your car. Let's collect money and give to and support this young man. And let's just be deliberate about this. Where do you want to put the money? Where are we putting the money? In the hat. Yeah, let's put money. Yeah. Zach, put money in here. Did you see the joke on there? That you've got some siblings that you don't have. You know who sent that to me? He's a culprit. But let's put money, guys, and then can I also see, just by the show of hands, those who are going to Vumba, amongst us who are here? How many of us are going to Vumba? Just put your hand up. I know you might not have registered. How many are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21. So already half of the number that we are targeting is already putting their hands up before we even talk to the other guys who are not online. Because there's a facility for 40 people only. So we need to book early. Now, can I now ask another simple question? I know we've got Dr. Mapondera. He is now available for us. I think this is when you stop live streaming. Those who are online, thank you so much for joining us. May God bless you. We hope you have picked up something. We are now signing out, over and out. Bye. Right.